Hi, hello, welcome to Eagle Sports. Quarterfinals Euro 2020, Spain versus Switzerland, and alage we have Italy versus Belgium. Mark Seagraves Mark Seagraves the matter the mark. So we have come down to 8 and we are now progressing towards 4. And this side of the draw we have Spain versus Switzerland and we also have Italy versus Belgium. So before we get into the teams and the matches and all of those things, which match are you more interested in?
I'm interested in the Spain-Switzerland match, believe it or not, for two reasons. I want to see how good Spain are because Switzerland are a decent team. They were ranked something like 4th in the last World Cup in the FIFA rankings. Now they're about 12th, so they're a good team. As we've seen in the last game, they knuckled down and managed to grind out the result. We've seen Spain and people have been saying, they have 85% possession and can't create goals, and lo and behold, the last two games they've scored 10. So I want to see how much they've improved and whether the likes of Morata will get on the score sheet on a more of a regular basis. He's had lots of opportunities and he just quite hasn't hit the target or the keeper's saved or whatever it is. So I think some of the introduction of Busquets back has been a key for them, and they've got the good players, the young Pedri's in there as well. So they have the ammunition, but I just want to see them against and Switzerland are a proper team. They've got experienced players all over the park, and good players that are playing at the highest level. So it'll be interesting for me. And obviously the other game, the Belgium-Italy, is full of stars.
Well, that's full of stars. We'll get back to that again. But Switzerland will start without their captain because he has been booked twice. So Xhaka is not playing, so that is a big worry because he was the one who created that equalising assist in that last.
Well, it was, and he was very good in the game. I'm not a great lover of Xhaka in terms of seeing him play regularly in the Premier League, but what I've seen for Switzerland, he's been the captain, he's been the key, and he's drove the team on. He will be a big miss, but they still have players. They still have good quality players playing at all of the decent levels around Europe.
No, we have talked about Spain, holding the possession 70%, 80%, 85%, and they were around, I think overall there were 3,000 passes in the 4 games that they have played, and they have not scored any goals in the initial stages of the tournament, but then last 2 games they have scored 10, as you have correctly mentioned. But come at the time, they have come out really strongly, all guns blazing in the extra time against Croatia. They have scored 2 and Morata scored a goal, and Simon has done really well saving a few things. So I think that will give them that push to go for the kill.
You talk about Unai Simon as well.
He would have had a horrible day.
So he would have had a horrible first 45 minutes, but then he gradually got back because he made some really good saves as well. So that shows you the character of the man, But yeah, if you look at Spain, statistically, possession-based football, there's no team better than them in world football. But the criticism was, it's no good having all that possession if you're not creating opportunities. But if you've seen them in the last 2 games, to score 10, it's crazy, isn't it? So again, that's the key that I want to watch that game because it'll just be such a tactical affair. Switzerland will allow them to have that possession, but then they'll utilise what they have in their armoury. So that's a key. I don't think there'll be 5 goals for Spain this time around, but I just think they might just have the edge.
No, look at them. They have this path of going to the right wing and scoring goals. I think around 60% of them came from the right flank, and then you have Ricardo Rodriguez who's actually handling the Switzerland's left flank, who has missed the penalty. So it will be a crucial and a very problematic match for him because he's thinking a lot of stuff.
And also he's not the quickest. And Spain have got a lot of players. Even Traore, if he wants to come on, he's so quick. So that might be a worry. I'm not convinced with Rodriguez as a natural centre half, but as a defender as well. I think we've seen him a lot in Serie A the year before, and he hasn't been in. I think he's at Torino now. He's been in and out. He'll be pumped up for it, won't he? Obviously, because after what had happened, he's obviously gone through the lows and then the highs.
He would have become a villain,
Well, but we've seen that with Simon as well. He could have been a villain equally. So, it'll be an interesting matchup.
But then again, Jan Sommer, Switzerland's goalkeeper, saving that penalty of Mbappe, he should be.
An interesting point is that we have David James on Sony with us, and obviously he's a keeper, and he rates Sommer very, very highly. And I think okay, because he's not one of the keepers that you would have said at the start that, you know, when David says, you know, he's a really good keeper and he holds him in high esteem.
He has made an impact when it mattered the most. Actually,
yeah, absolutely. So, but that's the beauty of Switzerland. They have players like that who they're probably 7 out of 10s, 8 out of 10s on a bad day. So, you know, but then they might have a Shaqiri who might, you know, put two in. And so that's an interesting battle for me.
Shaqiri versus Morata. Can we see something between them individually? There's a contest developing.
But I hope both. I hope both, and it's an entertaining game. But I just think with the last games that they both played extra time, didn't they? So
Shaqiri didn't play the extra time.
Didn't play the extra time. So yeah. But again, if you're looking at Spain with the amount of possession they'll have, Switzerland won't have it all the time. So. Probably Shaqiri will be getting used sparingly, and they've got to make sure that when they do have the opportunities, they're really strong in their way that they need to put the ball in the back of the net. They might only have 1 or 2, but they need to be on point with that.
Now, 2 unsung heroes of Switzerland are Freuler and then you have got Schär, who have done really well. They came in as substitutes and they made some really good tackles, interceptions, and they also
we've
scored.
Seen again. I keep on going to Serie A. We've seen Freuler a lot. I have for Atalanta, and he plays every week for them as a holding midfielder, if you like, for all of the other attacking players to go and play. And he's been brilliant. Again, understated, 7 out of 10, but he does his job. And Schär obviously centre back, but he can play in midfield as well.
He can head and he can score goals and all of that.
So he's a Newcastle player, isn't he? Yeah. So they've got, as I said, they've got the players. People might know them, but within the game, you know that they're the quality. They mightn't be the superstars, they mightn't be the sexy names, but we know what they're all about. And if you rank that highly in FIFA, you rank that highly for a reason. So that's the key.
But Busquets is the guy who can get a win in their basket.
He is, and he doesn't create that much. He doesn't go past players, but his continuity, he's the key. That is the glue that holds it all together. Everything goes through him. And the one thing I love about Busquets is we talk about holding midfielders who get the ball. And this was levied at England. They either go sideways or they go backwards. Every time he gets the ball, he looks forward first. If it's not on, then that's okay, but he looks forward all the time. So that's the key again for them, because that's how you break the lines. That's how you get through the thirds, is that you've got to make that pass that goes through the midfield area to the striker, and then you can get into the opposing third. And he does that. And his ratio of passing is fantastic.
He was a change. They were not able to score a goal, Spain, in the first 2 matches, and he comes and then suddenly they have 5-5.
And also he's had COVID, and he lasted, I think it was well into the extra time. So we all know what he's been like for Barcelona. He's been absolutely brilliant, but he is the key, because if you look at it, it's quite a young squad. It's not even as 2 centre halves, young Laporte and Garcia. They've only got 13 caps between them. So he's very key to everything they do. He plays alongside Pedri. I think he's only 19, 18. So he's got that experience, but he's a top class player.
Right. So your guesses on the scoreline, Spain versus Swiss?
Having seen that Spain have scored 5 in the last 2 games and Switzerland got 3, 0-0. No, I think it's going to be a really tight game, but I just think Spain have the edge.
So they'll go into the extra time and probably into penalties.
Is that the first game or the second game? They're the first game, aren't they? I hope they don't go into penalties, because I'm doing it. No, I think it'll be over in the first game.
Right. Now let's talk about Belgium and Italy. You have all the who's of the game in it, and you have Lukaku, you have Hazard brothers, you have Kevin De Bruyne, and then you have players like Bonucci, you have players like Spinazzola, Immobile. You see, all of them have been contributing, and they are the stars, they are the poster boys of Europe.
But even you're looking at Barella, you look at Locatelli, who can't get in the team,
Donnarumma.
They've got a host, and again, I've seen a lot of Serie A this year, and I've seen all of these players who are playing in Serie A on a regular basis, and the quality, they have got the quality. Defensively, they're solid. My only query is strikers. I know Immobile scores goals, but I don't think he's the finished article in terms of being able to hold the ball up well and link the play, because I think he gives it away an awful lot. But he's a goal scorer, and you've seen that. And if an opportunity gets in the box, then. But I think the key to Italy is the midfield. The midfield is absolutely dynamic. Yeah, I mean he's a holding midfielder. Verratti's a holding midfielder. But when you can bring in a Locatelli, you know, even that in Serie A, we've got 3 players in the Italian team from a team called Sassuolo. A lot of people won't know the team even because we always Inter Milan AC. 3 players: Locatelli, Berardi, and Raspadori, all done really well this year.
Yes.
And
Raspadori has had a very little time on the field, but
he was a late inclusion.
Right.
But he's a good striker. But Berardi's been there and played near enough every minute. And Locatelli was amazing in the game that he played. So they've got the quality and depth. The defensively they're great. Donnarumma's a good goalkeeper. You've got obviously Bonucci and Chiellini. Even without Chiellini there, you've got Serbi, you've got Bastoni. They've got quality in there. And Spinazzola's been a revelation. So they've got the players, and it won't be easy for Belgium because you know if De Bruyne is not playing or Eden Hazard's not playing, you know you're going to be a lesser team without them in there for sure. But let's hope that they can, and it'll be a good game because I always want the best to win.
Right.
And the golden generation of Belgium didn't do it in the 2008. This is the last chance. And I don't want them to win at the expense of England, but I always want the best to get there, and it'll be a fitting tribute to them players as well to be able. Imagine being the golden generation that didn't win anything. That'll be on your CV forever. So that's going to be an interesting battle. Again, there's so much on these games now. It's not going to be a 5-3. It's going to be a really tight game.
It's a low-scoring game. And one more thing that I wanted to ask you is the teams that have marked Romelu Lukaku really well. You know, you have got Pep doing so well against Romelu Lukaku, and they're not allowing him to move and cut him from the right, or if it's in the centre, they're not allowing him to move forward. So I think it is going to be a good one-on-one battle between Bonucci and Lukaku.
It will, but they played against each other in Serie A. And Lukaku was the leading goal scorer. So he'll know what's expected, and they'll know what's expected.
Right.
I think he got the better of both of them over the course of the season, so that'll be an interesting matchup.
That is an interesting matchup, and another interesting matchup would be probably between Thorgan Hazard, and we might just see Verratti, you know, holding him somewhere.
Yeah, and who'd have thought, you know, whenever we mention Hazard, we always mention
his other brother.
His other brother. But Thorgan's done well. He's playing at the highest level in the
He's the reason why
and he scored that goal in the last game, the Portugal game. So he's a good player, solid player. I mean, they've got creativity all over the park, haven't they? You know, and as I say, it'd be a shame if they couldn't win something this generation because, as I say, maybe they might stretch it to the 2022 World Cup.
But this is their best chance, you know.
But this is the best chance, yeah.
And hopefully, you know, Eden is fit with his hamstring doing well, and Kevin De Bruyne has fit with his shin and ankle doing well. And once they come in, I think we have a match of stars, and it'll be like Belgium-Portugal match, where there are a lot of chances created, a lot of saves happening, but the scoreline says 1-0.
I think so, but I mean that if you look at all of the games, that's the best. They've got the best quality in there. So I'm just hoping that England come through under the radar. And manage to get to the final, and we'll see. I mean, people want it to be Belgium and England. I'd quite like to be Italy. And then we can.
but isn't it unfair, Mark? You know, you have got two good teams, you know, who are tipped off as potential champions. They are fighting against each other in quarterfinals, not even in semis.
Isn't that the beauty of knockout football? You know, you can't have it manipulated where. Because you'd end up having Brazil versus Argentina in every World Cup, wouldn't you? You know, so this is the beauty. I mean, the group stages are designed to get the better teams through.
Correct.
You know, we see it in the Champions League.
Yes.
It's all geared to make sure that these seeds get to the very end, so you know it looks better. But the cream will always go to the top. I mean, it doesn't happen all the time. We've seen with Leicester, we've seen with Greece in the Euros, but in the main, it's always the better teams that get there. And I'm just hoping that's the case. I hope England can put that monkey to bed as well, which is the 55 years, get that off the shoulder. And you know, that'll be great. But if we win it, then you can imagine the pressure to win the World Cup.
Yes. So there you go. Mark says Italy might just go through, and Spain
and Italy.
Spain and Italy says Spain and Belgium is what Bhutia says.
Oh, wow. Well, I'll disagree with him.
Thank you so much.